Good morning, Dan and Amy. And let's get right to this. We've got a lot to discuss. So welcome our friend Michael Rubin, former Pentagon official and expert in areas including the Middle East, Turkey, Iran, and Iranian-related diplomacy. He is now a scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. His book, Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engaging Rogue Regimes. Michael Rubin, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan.
So this story yesterday, is this just kind of a one-day gloss-over story? Don't pay much attention to it? Because I remember the left made a big deal about Bush lied and people died. It was kind of an erroneous accusation, but that was their mantra back during the Bush years. So this story is interesting. 2515 version of an annual survey of intelligence analysts and their managers conducted by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence discovered that 40% of the analysts who surveyed who are working for the U.S. military Central Command, whose area of responsibility includes Syria and Iraq, said they had experienced an attempt to distort or suppress intelligence in the past year. 40% of intelligence analysts and managers essentially said they had been pressured to cook the books as it relates to ISIS and Islamic terror. That's what they're saying. Is this a big deal?
Well, Dan, it is a big deal. But, the whole debate about politicization of intelligence didn't start with the Bush administration. I did an article for the Journal of Intelligence and Counterintelligence, which is the trade journal on this. And you can trace the sort of thing going back to the Johnson administration, if not before. The fact of the matter is there's always a blurred line when it comes to what absolute proof is. There is no definition of standard of proof in intelligence. And at the same time, there's a tendency among many intelligence analysts not to be comfortable with the way the policy debate is going and to want to try to manipulate that based on what they push forward and not. That said, it's clear that there's been pressure here, and that's something which the Obama administration should get to the bottom of because it goes to the sanctity of the process.
Should get to the bottom of, or should cop to? I mean, where's the pressure coming from? It's obviously political pressure.
And Dan, this is what Congress is for, and unfortunately, Congress has been impotent for the last decade or more. Rhetoric doesn't matter when congressmen get up and declare that this is bad. What they got to do is use their power of the purse. Mm-hmm. They've got to haul people before committees in order to testify. I mean, you shouldn't have simply the top leaders in an organization be the ones to testify and give pablum to the committee. You should get the people down below who know what's going on to give the unvarnished truth, and they should have immunity to do so.
Mm-hmm. Well, then why is it possible that Hillary Clinton has not been charged with anything yet? I mean, it's all of our listeners calling every day saying, why isn't she charged with any wrongdoing? There's so many numbers of things for pay to play from her position as Secretary of State in regards with the Clinton Foundation, helping out people who donated to the Clinton Foundation.
Well, Amy, I say this as an analyst rather than an advocate, but it looks like what we have here with the Justice Department is the political equivalent of too big to fail. The fact of the matter is, when James Comey, the FBI director, said that no reasonable prosecutor would go after Hillary Clinton and her aides for some of the email shenanigans that went on, it only took a day to find out that there were examples of where prosecutors under Comey had gone after other analysts for the exact same things which they declined to prosecute Hillary Clinton on. But, I think Andy McCarthy over at National Review has made a pretty good case in a number of ways that what we have here with the Clinton Foundation should really be prosecuted under the RICO. I mean, what you have is collusion. Right. What you have is violations of agreements. And the fact that three field directors urged the prosecution and Loretta Lynch said no, that's a scandal in and of itself. That's something we should get to the bottom of. But unfortunately, if Congress isn't going to intercede, there's nothing we can do.
Okay, so
she's meeting with Bill Clinton on a plane, so
So we have, so we can't rely on Congress to do their job, and we can't rely on justice to do their job, and we can't rely on honest analyst reports from our intelligence community. Boy, this is not going well, Michael Rubin. We're in a bit of a spiral here, aren't we?
I'd say we are, and I mean, it should be a wake-up call to people in Washington that, clearly whatever one's politics are, you could argue that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were protest candidates, and the fact that they didn't simply get 10% like they would in a normal election year, but Trump got the nomination, dominated the process, and Bernie Sanders came close and may have come out on top if it hadn't been for internal DNC shenanigans. That's an indication that people in Washington need to watch out because frustration is at a boiling point, and I don't think Hillary Clinton and others get it. They think they can just ride this wave through the storm and it will go away, and it ain't going away.
All right, so we've indicted the three branches of government. Let's move over to the fourth estate, get them in on the action here. 30 conservative leaders, clergy, former elected officials, social and cultural conservative leaders, sent a letter, open letter, asking the media where is the coverage of the Christian genocide going on in the Middle East, noting, among other just jarring statistics, that the number of Christians in Iraq alone over the last 12 years has plunged from 1 million to fewer than 275,000. What about this story?
Well, that's a huge story. And by the way, when you're indicting the Fourth Estate, none of the three major broadcast networks covered the fact that three FBI directors had field directors had urged investigation into the Clinton Foundation. But when it comes to the Christians in the Middle East, that's a broader issue. And that's something, where is our own State Department on this? Why aren't we giving a special sanction for Syrian Christians to come into the country rather than have them be 0.4% of the refugee population from Syria gaining access when they are 10% of the Syrian population? The only country in the Middle East in which the Christian population is actually growing is Israel. Mm-hmm. We don't hear a lot about that. Ultimately, this is a huge issue. This is changing the face of the Middle East for generations. It's changing it for 2 millennia, and we're not there. And it's not only the media; it's our own diplomats in our own White House who aren't standing up and using their bully pulpit.
What do you think about Donald Trump saying that now he's walking it back this morning? We're learning, but saying that President Obama is the founder of ISIS and Hillary Clinton is on the JV team.
What happens in Washington doesn't stay in Washington. I understand the passions and political rhetoric of an election season, but I cringed when I heard that. And the reason is that plays into the political rhetoric of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran and so forth. Khamenei uses it to fan the flames of anti-Americanism. It reminds me of when then Senator Obama, then Senator Kerry, then Senator Ted Kennedy had talked about the Iraq War being a new Vietnam at a time when our troops were there. It may have scored political points in Washington, but it put our people in harm's way. Donald Trump needs to tone it down. Yeah,
but with the Iranians, though, you must not have gotten the news. They're our new partners in peace, so they wouldn't be fomenting anti-Americanism.
Well, absolutely. And, on one hand, you had massive elections which showed the moderation of the Iranian people. But on the other hand, Dan, of course, whenever there's a Death to America rally, that's just excused by the White House as pandering to the masses.
Right. All right. He is Michael Rubin, resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. Always thoughtful, well-researched commentary. His book, Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engaging Rogue Regimes. Michael Rubin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.